An hour of spiraling thoughts ended with a decision to go to the gym. Punch stuff until I feel better, it was the only option. I wasn't violent. Usually. The machine was so useful. I was glad I found it. Even with XP slowing from just punching a machine, it was really nice to punch something that actually responded and changed. It let me fall into the zone as my mind was taken up with the challenge of getting my punches to connect. Even if the machine was actively blocking with its extra arms, trying to push my punches to the side to miss. I fell into the rhythm, trying to outsmart the machine. Sometimes when I succeeded I would be rewarded with XP. A perfect system. Endorphin rush every time I got an alert. Satisfying my addiction. Not bad, kid. A voice startled me as I was adjusting the difficulty up again. You got a good strike. Where you train? The massive man that spoke was probably 6 feet 7 inches or taller, and he was at least 4 times as wide as me. His massive muscles shifted into gorilla arms halfway down. He wasn't the same guy that had first drawn me into this room, but there was no ending to the amount of massive men and women in the room at any one time. They were shifting constantly. I just didn't pay attention to them mostly. Here? I said, looking at the machine and then back to him, having to crane my neck up a bit. No, I mean, who taught you to fight? You go to a boxing gym, or a dojo? No. I come here. I like the machines. I added after a second. Who? Really? No one taught you? No? Huh? Not bad. Give it a few years and you might get an invite to some of the rings. You should find a coach. Check out Triple Extreme Gym sometime. It's in Rancho Coronado. Just gotta prove yourself a bit, and you will be welcome. I'm not really looking to join a gang. I tell him bluntly. I'm sure the animals are cool and everything, but not my scene. Huh. You knew that right off. Good head on you. Well, I suppose it was obvious. Think about it. No better place to get some real strength. He chuckled, patting me on the shoulder hard enough to nearly knock me off my feet before turning and heading off. I wasn't really interested. I didn't even really want to fight hand to hand. But now that it was brought up, it might be a good place, and mostly safe place to get some XP. But did I really want to become a pit fighter? No. But a part of me that whispered XP made the idea more tempting than it should be. I was getting anxious again. I was doing some grinding on the stupid baby's first cyberdeck again. Since I already went to the gym today and I just didn't want to go outside. But it wasn't quick XP, and continued silence from June was making me nervous. At least I had gotten to the point I could breach our radio and turn it on or off, or even change the volume from the couch, so that was cool, I guess. I eventually got bored at the highly technical work before flopping back on the couch. Someday I would be a scary netrunner that could make people blow their own brains out with a look. That day is not today. Unfortunately, nothing else was going on. Ichi didn't have any jobs. Shobo was keeping everyone close in case there was another attack on his club. Hiromi was out of touch again. I wish June was here. That way everything would be safe again and I wouldn't have to feel this need to rush. Maybe I should try to make some eddies? I sighed. The only thing I could think of was to kill. I'm not sure if it was the city, where murder was just the fastest way to doing most things, or if it was me. The urge to kill to get what I wanted. I needed something to do with my hands. I realized. Exercise was fun, but it wasn't giving me any XP now unless I went to the gym, but I still needed an indoor hobby. Maybe one that wasn't netrunning. Well, there was a skill I hadn't done anything with yet. I realized. Crafting. Or technical ability. But I didn't have a lot of eddies to start something like that. I groaned. Money or XP. Both were hard to get without doing something. Wait. If I want a job, I can just get one. I reminded myself. Fixers were a thing. Hell. Waikiko was over in Jig Jig Street, which I could almost see from my apartment window. I stood up. Sure, I was a kid. And she might not even see me. But it was something. Something that I wanted to try. I grinned as I got ready, wishing I had found the rest of a cool outfit, but at least I had my cool jacket and gloves. I suited up, unfortunately leaving the boya. I didn't have a holster, or ammo for it. Outside the sun was shining through the small sections of the city that could see the sky, and I jogged down the block and crossed the street. Then I took a right down Jig Jig Street. The place was just how I remembered it from the game. Dark, seedy, full of people looking to do bad things. I think I was probably the youngest person there. But that was fine. I wandered the streets until I found it. A pachinko parlor. The only reason I remember the exact location of Waikiko was because of how funny it was. One of the most powerful fixers in Night City hangs out in a tiny room with a TV in the back of a pachinko den. I entered, noticing the woman at the counter eyeing me up. "I'm wondering if Waikiko has a moment," I asked the neon-haired girl who raised an eyebrow at me. Being 14 kinda sucked. But I held my gaze. "Doubt it. If she isn't already in contact with you, you aren't on her radar." The girl eventually offered, even going so far as to lick her finger and turn the page on the magazine she was reading. "I'm aware I'm not on her radar. That's why I'm here." The woman sighed, looking me over. "Do you have any idea how many street kids we get coming in here?" "A lot." "Yeah, a lot." The woman finished as if that was the end of it. "I bet a lot of them ask to be tested too. A gig to prove that they aren't hot air. Save me from irritating overconfident children." The woman muttered at me before her eyes went gold. A few moments later she nodded and then she looked at me. "Go on in. If you want." I nodded, pleased. It seems I was right. Waikiko couldn't only hire people that are the best of the best. Sometimes you needed street rats. I turned to the left and walked through the doorway blocked only by the weird beads that people seem to use here instead of doors. It was a cozy little back room, an executive-style desk and Waikiko, the fixer of Japantown. The older woman was casually looking over to the TV that was to my right as I entered, giving me a single glance, assessing me and then going back to the TV. "Thank you for seeing me," I say with a little bow to her. She had been high up in the Tiger Claws. Well, her husbands had been. "Don't tell me your name." "I don't want to know it," she said simply, and her eyes went yellow. A text came in. "Finish the job, and return, then maybe I will bother to learn your name. Or don't." The door. She offered simply a very brusque quick interview. I could kind of respect it. I didn't say anything more. Just turning and leaving. I had my job. I ended up on the street before I looked at it. A man had an info shard. Waikiko wanted that shard. Simple. No other information other than where the man potentially was and a picture of him. That's it. No orders about how she wanted the job done, or anything. I understood. Most street kids would probably go loud. Cause a riot. The smart ones would go quiet, collect the shard and get out. Hopefully without causing an uproar. Waikiko wanted to know what kind I was. I could do that. I ended up grabbing June's bike as the guy was hiding out across town. I ended up finding a parking lot a few blocks away and stashing the bike before continuing. A light jog to warm up and I was there. I slipped behind a parked car as I scoped out the old auto shop. The garage door was open, but it was obvious it wasn't open for business. No, a group of Valentinos were hanging around. Some were using the garage to work on their cars. It was still doable, except for one thing. A guy was outside in the parking lot, sitting on the hood of a car and drinking a beer while the radio played. Damn. This wasn't going to be easy. I started looking for entrances without finding much. The auto shop had a big office side to it, 2 stories tall, connected to the 3-door garage, but again, there were 8 cars parked out front. That was potentially a lot of people to get caught by. But I had a chance. The back of the lot was covered in a high fence. It might have barbed wire around it, but I had parkour. I could definitely reach the roof from another building next door. That was my entrance. I moving across the street as naturally as I could before starting my climb up. An old burned-out car, to the AC unit of the warehouse, to the roof. Keeping low, I crossed the roof of the seemingly abandoned building, heading closer to the roof of the auto shop. As I was getting close, my new view let me see a hiccup. A security camera. On the back of the building, keeping an eye on the backyard, which wasn't empty. It was full of cars. Newer cars. All of them missing pieces. I guess the Dinos were using this place as a chop shop. But I could get through. I just needed to find an entrance where the camera couldn't see, while also avoiding making any noise, or letting the Chinos out front notice I was on the roof. Easy. First step. I waited, and when the music hit its crescendo, I leapt from my roof to the next. landing as quietly as I could, which still wasn't really quiet. I waited, for a minute and then another. Nothing. I started moving, crawling across the roof, staying low, letting the noise of the radio and sounds of the mechanics at work hide me away as I crawled across the roof until I reached the office building side. No windows opened out to the roof of the garage, which was irritating. No, they were on the front and back of the second floor of the office, making my job difficult. I scooted towards the back of the building, keeping an eye on the camera so I was out of sight when it looked away from me. I looked around for an entrance I could use. There was a back door, but it was right under the camera. No go. I grumbled quietly. Why wasn't this as easy as the games? Where was the obvious secret door? Or the window that was always left open? Right. This was real and not a game. I calmed myself down, took a few breaths and started looking around again. The camera was well placed, giving it a solid view of the entire backlot, which I suppose was the point. Why would someone put a camera down that only looked at half of what they needed it to? I had to go back. I crawled back towards the front of the shop, peeking over the ledge. Yep, that was a Tino sitting on a car right in front of the building. No way I could use the front of the building while he was there. Damn it. I was just about to give up entirely. I would just have to call Wakako back, when I got the alert. Ninjutsu skill level up. 1 perk point gained. I felt it flow through me, allowing me to adjust my position just a tad to make it a little harder to notice me as I slipped back down. A perk? That could work. I opened up the list in the shadow of the second floor, laying down on the roof, completely hidden from the ground. I had been hoping for something cool. Phase into shadows. Or invisibility. Or something amazing. But nothing that mystical showed up. As usual, my perks were more knowledge-based, more surgical in what they gave than ninjutsu as a whole. I did find the one that I really liked, as it was the one most likely to save my life in an emergency. Danger sense. A moment's alert before you are seen. For a thief, that could be really useful. I picked it without another thought, going back to my current problem. I had to get in, find the target, and find the shard. As I was still figuring out a path inside, a new vehicle pulled up. I glanced over the roof and watched as. Was that Dexter Deshawn? It was. I recognized that fat backstabbing asshole anywhere. He was too far, and the radio blocked the voice, but the guy that had been waiting out on the hood of the car was chatting with him, and over the course of a few minutes something changed hands. I couldn't tell if Dexter was given something, or if he gave something. I really hope that wasn't my shard. Thinking quickly, I took a picture of the handoff. Even if my eyes weren't Giroshi's like these, I could still take pictures. I just couldn't scan. See through walls. Smart link. Okay, you get the point. My eyes were civilian eyes. Which also reminded me that old Motoko had likely lost her eyes to the scavs. God. I'm really glad I don't have her memories now. Remembering scavs tearing your eyes out? I shuddered. Dexter got back into his massive car and drove off. And to my pleasure, the guy who had been waiting outside? He went inside. The front was clear. While I didn't want to get to the front door, the front of the building did have a window. I crept over to the front edge of the roof, looking down just to make sure no other straggler was around. Nope. Everyone was inside. I could just see the boots of some guy under a car as he was working on it. Perfect. I stood and snuck over to the point where the second floor of the office and the mechanic shop met, and looked over to see the window on the second floor. Peeking in was awkward, but I was able to see it looked like the boss's office, and it was empty. I reached out to test the window. I grinned. It wasn't locked. It slid as I pushed my hand against it and pulled. Now was the hard part. It opened towards me, which meant to reach the opening I would have to jump. I sighed. Thankfully parkour was there, and after a moment of looking it over, I had the path. I leapt feet first, grabbing the bottom of the windowsill, heaving upwards, letting my shoes hit the windowsill on the opposite wall to give me half a second of grip and keep me from flying out into nothing. I rolled sideways, forcing myself into the window. I did land with a thump. No helping it. But I tried to keep it as quiet as I could. I quickly checked the room, looking for any hiding spot just in case, but there really wasn't much. So I waited, wondering if I was going to have to leap back out the window. Instead it was quiet. And slowly I untensed. Then I started searching around. I needed the info shard Wakako wanted. I went through the drawers of the desk and then around the room. Nothing. I took a deep breath and moved to the door, opening it a crack to see out. The floor was a bunch of desks put together like cubicles. But it was empty. No computers on the desks or anything. The place was abandoned. I slipped out, checking every corner of the room as I did. No one had been up here in a while, I realized. So I moved towards the stairs. The staircase in the back of the building was an open design. The entire first and second floor were basically one massive room, just with the floor in the way. I peeked my head over the steps, peeking through the top stairs to see the floor below. And the man sitting at an old corner desk, a new laptop open as he typed away. Target found. But so was the man that had been waiting for Dexter outside. Fuck. Well, is it what we need? It is. Everything I said. See. I am good on my word. You get what you want. I get out of here. Well, Toom, a deal is a deal. Start getting packed up. We will roll once we get confirmation. The man said with a pleased smile as he slapped my target's shoulder heavily. Thanks. He grumbled, not sounding thankful at all. What the hell was going on? Wakako just wanted an info shard, but this guy was about to bail. I narrowed my eyes. The Valentino, to my relief, left the room after that, heading back into the shop, saying something in Spanish as the door shut. I moved. I had to. I didn't have time to play around anymore. Not if I was going to complete this gig. The target was still buried in his laptop, tapping away. More than distracted enough for me to get close. The noise from outside would keep any noise from inside muffled enough. I hoped. I came up behind him as silent as death. Ninjutsu was more than just stealth. It also had info on how to disable someone. Combined with grapple. My arm came around the target's neck with all the force I could. A hard jerk to startle to disrupt breathing, and then a solid force against his carotid. It wasn't oxygen that knocked people out with a neck grab. It was blood flow. He struggled, of course he did. His hands flailed at first and he kicked out, kicking the table a few times. Relax. I'm not here for your life. Go to sleep, I whispered into his ear as I slowly pressured him down to the ground. His attempts at ripping my arm from his throat failed. He wasn't chromed, and I had a solid hold. Very soon his struggle died out and he went limp. He wasn't faking. Ninjutsu told me. I let go. 250 XP gained. Level up achieved. 1 stat point gained. 1 skill point gained. I blinked back the alerts. Now wasn't the time. I went to work, searching the man. I took every shard he had on him just to be safe. Then, since I kinda wanted to fuck up Dexter Deshawn, I took not just the shard that he had dropped off, but the laptop my target had been working on. I took everything. I was probably screwing this guy over pretty bad. I admit, but I was probably also causing trouble for Dexter. Which I would accept as a trade-off. 'Cause fuck that guy. He is just as bad as Faraday. That's a fixer that needed a bullet to his head. I hurried back upstairs in a rush. My goal, the open window. Once I was there, I peeked out. No one out front still. Good. The laptop was a pain in the ass. And I had to slip it into my pants and shirt using my belt to tighten it down to make sure it didn't shift as I climbed out the window, and using parkour fell down, grabbing the windowsill, breaking my fall and then falling the rest of the way. I landed with a thump, but it wasn't that bad. Cat-like coming in clutch. I quickly dashed around the corner, disappearing from sight. Gig complete. Dash. I walked into Wakako's a few hours later with a backpack that I had stopped at home to grab. Seriously, bring a bag when on a mission, Motoko, you idiot. I would never tell anyone that I had to ride home with a laptop stuck in my pants. Not comfortable. I walked past the girl at the front. Simply going up to Wakako's doorway and knocking gently. Get in here, she said simply, and I did so. You got the shard? And more. I answered, opening the backpack and placing the shard that I was pretty sure was the info shard she wanted onto the table along with the laptop and the shard that Tex had dropped off. And this? She asked only after she took the first shard and slotted it into a slot on her desk. As I was entering, something interesting happened. I forwarded her a text with the image of Dex doing a handoff. Oh? The shard in the laptop is the one he handed over. The computer belonged to the target. Not sure what the whole situation is, but the target was making a deal to leave the city, in exchange for something that Dex handed over. Considering your brief didn't mention a time frame, I figure something is going on. Either you appreciate the info, or it's useless. Either way, you got what you wanted. Correct. I did get what I wanted. As I always do. Motoko Kusanagi, she said, obviously dropping my name. If she expected me to react, I didn't. A good pair of eyes could scan people and get their NCPD database instantly. I suppose that means I'm interesting enough for you to know my name. A clean-up. You handled it like a professional. I like that in my mercs. Here is payment. Your name is added to my contacts. I will be in touch. She gave me a serious look as her eyes suddenly glowed blue. A deposit in my account came through. 5 grand. I looked surprised for a moment before nodding. I look forward to it, I said as I turned and left. I felt better. Productive. I could do this. I didn't go home. With Eddie's comes potential. First step was to finally get an outfit that I could be happy with. It was a little embarrassing to show up to a gig in face Waikiko wearing an old ratty t-shirt and scuffed jeans. First I called Hiromi, but unfortunately she was still out of contact again. It would have been nice to go on a shopping spree with her, but probably for the best that I didn't. So I started hitting clothing stores. Boots. New pants. And something special that I had been thinking about for a while. Boots were easy. Combat boots could be found all over the place, although finding a pair that fit my feet weren't as easy. They didn't usually make them in 14-year-old girl size. I found a set eventually way out in 6th Street territory. Turns out the military aesthetic meant there was interest for girls too. I even grabbed a pair of tight jeans there. Slim and tight, but they were military weave. The sort of clothing that stretched when needed, so the tightness was a benefit, not a negative. I even grabbed a few strap-on pockets for extra loot potential. Super tight jeans weren't great for pockets anyways. The last piece was more difficult. I headed to the Kabuki market. It was the only place that I knew for sure there was a Netrunner shop. Parking June's bike and finding the store took forever. It was a maze of a circular design and I had to walk around the whole thing twice before I found the shop I was looking for. The dewdrop inn. Hence why I didn't check it out at first. It was a Netrunner shop. It even had 2 Netrunner stations in the back, but I was here for info. Nice to meet you. I'm Motoko. I greeted the older woman standing behind the counter. Yoko. Your name's not a familiar one. No, it wouldn't be. I just have a few questions, and maybe make some purchases? The Japanese woman looked me over a bit before shrugging. Well, go on. Do you know where I can buy a Netrunner suit? Oh. I see. Alright. Yeah kid, I know some sellers. Since they are always looking for business, I don't mind handing it over. Her eyes went yellow and I received a text a moment later with a few different locations. I gave her a smile. I couldn't help it. I had been looking for a Netrunner suit for a while. Preem. Thank you. It's nothing. You looking to buy? Maybe. I'm looking for a starter setup. Something to learn off. Not much of a Netrunner myself, but I want to pick up some basics. For now. Eventually I would be a Bartmoss. But that was in the future. You want a Netrun suit but aren't a Netrunner? Interesting. But alright. Sure kid, I can get you set up. You got the eddies? I have some, but I have no idea what the cost would be. Don't stiff me too hard? I asked, and it earned a genuine laugh from the older woman. She even took down her circular glasses and rubbed at her eyes as she regained control. Alright. I'll go easy on you. Listen, I'm obviously not a ripper, so anything I hand over will need to be chipped in. Lucky for you, I actually have an old deck, not the best, but it's cheap. I'll hand it over for 4,005. She reached under her desk and pulled out a case, sort of like a shard case but a bit larger, and after wiping it off from a bit of dust she opened it. Militech Paralin. It's cheap. About all that can be said about it, but if you want to learn how to run the net, it's a solid starting point. Okay, I agreed. It was a lot of money. But I needed to take the next step on my path as a merc. I needed to be able to hack stuff. My eyes went blue as I sent the money over. Well, alright, well let me get you set up. I'll even throw in some freebies. Funny kid. Netrunner suit and a basic deck. Alright, she said with a chuckle. Thank you, I said again. despite spending so much cash at once. I really did need this. If I had been a netrunner, I could have shut down the camera on the last job without all the fuss. It would have made it easier on me for sure. Also, here is a program. It's just ping, the basics of the basics. Should give you somewhere to start, she said, handing me a shard. Oh, thank you very much. Go on then, kid. Happy running. I thanked her again as I headed out. I would have to reach out to the netrunner suit people. See if they have what I am looking for. But first, I needed to see a Ripper. As much as I would have liked to stop and see Victor, I already had a Ripper that I thought was good enough right behind my house. So an hour later I walked into the Ripper of Japantown, the same one that had helped me fix my optics. Welcome, how can we help you? The receptionist, a different girl this time, I noted, asked as she looked up from her desktop computer. I'm here to have a cyberdeck installed. I already have the deck. Excellent. I will inform the doctor. Payment is here, she said, handing over an actual datapad for a moment, which I noticed had all the little fees and such. I sighed, but put my hand on the pad and accepted the transfer. There goes another couple grand. All right, the doctor will see you now. I shrugged and walked into the doctor's Ripper room. Oh, you again? Good. Come get settled in. What are we doing today? Cyberdeck. I inform her, holding up the case, and she nods, takes it from my hands. Her right hand, already covered in equipment, pulls the deck out and seems to be scanning it over. Old but in good condition. All right. Here are the options, let's get everything picked out before we start ripping. She told me, pushing a screen over in front of me. I made a few selections and asked her if something else was possible for one, but in the end I got what I wanted. Settle in, and let me put in the anesthesia. I settled into the chair and rested back as she gave me a quick injection and I started falling asleep. I settled onto the couch, now with something a bit better than baby's first net deck, and got to work actually messing around. So there was still one problem that I would have to deal with for now. My optics weren't Kiroshi. I didn't have a scan mode nearly as powerful, in fact mine was pretty much useless. Cyberdecks worked with a combination of optic scans to find the wireless connection port, which opened up the device for the hack. So since my scan was so weak, it wasn't exactly fast. But I could at least do it. I did have one more alteration that I had talked to the Ripper about. It cost me a couple hundred extra eddies on my surgery, but I didn't have the normal cord that anyone with a cyberdeck had. The one attached to the wrist. I always thought it was kinda stupid to lose access to a hand in order to breach a system. Especially since I already had a better idea. I reached behind my head and felt the semi-hidden cord port on the back of my neck. It felt super weird whenever I pulled the cord out, but hey, I could now start breaching a system manually without losing access to one of my hands. Plus it made me feel like the Major. Now that I was home though, it was time to do some grinding. First I looked over to the radio. And after just a minute I was in. That was a lot easier compared to the hour it had taken me with the external net deck. 100 breach protocol XP gained. 100 intelligence XP gained. I grinned at that. This was so much easier. Easy peasy. I turned from the radio to the TV, doing the same thing. Breaching its firmware in a minute. 100 breach protocol XP gained. Perfect. Despite my worry over June, despite the loneliness that had started creeping in now that he wasn't coming home, despite my worry about my unearthed murderous desire, I had fun. It was hacking. Of course it was fun. I giggled as I got the TV to change channels. I even peeked my head out the door and started hacking into the burrito vendor. I was gonna make that thing stop giving June burritos if he was going to pull this shit. This time it took some real work. The security on the thing wasn't great. At least I didn't think it would be, but it was still more secure than my TV or radio. Sitting up against the door of the apartment when I realized it was gonna take a few minutes as I stared at the vending machine. My eyes only seeing code, was fun. Weird but fun. Finally I managed to get in. Breaching its security. 100 breach protocol XP gained. Breach protocol skill level up. 100 intelligence XP gained. I was a bit distracted though. I had to shake my head just to get it to calm down. Breach protocol information was dense. Not just instinct on how to do it, but general knowledge of how to breach systems, the protocols and common tricks, yet more. Knowledge about tons of different electronic systems. Their security. How good it would be. It was the first time as well that I could instantly know what I didn't know. Some things I could think about, like vehicles. I had no idea how to breach. The knowledge wasn't there, but it would be. I knew. Wow. I am Hackerman. I blinked at my own stupid statement, looked around and was really glad no one was here. I really need to stop spending so much time alone. I mutter, idly standing up and leaving the poor vending machine alone as I head inside, turning on the TV and setting it to a news channel just to have some noise. I crashed on the couch and closed down the cyberdeck connection, in essence turning it off for now. I sighed and closed my eyes. Sleep. My eyes opened in shock when the door opened. I was on my knees in front of the couch, Unity drawn and aimed as I was ready to blow some holes in whoever had just tried to break in. The man that entered was June? I asked in surprise. It was June, but not Hey Emoto. He grumbled the same as always as he stopped at the entranceway, looking at my reaction for a minute. June. What happened? I gasped in horror, dropping the Unity, because June's arms, both of them all the way up to his shoulders, were no longer natural. Sure, they still had patches of his real skin, and those patches were covered in tattoos. But it was obvious he had cyber arms now. Got chipped, he said, simply showing off the arms a bit. He wasn't wearing a shirt, showing that the tattoos now covered even more of his chest and his back too. I see that you gonk. Why? I said, rising up and pulling him into a hug. Idiot, I said, whispering it into his chest. Sorry. I got a promotion in the claws. We hit Maelstrom. I did a good job, so the bosses got me chipped. Some of it is from the Maelstrom I killed, he said, sounding well vengeful. I'm glad you're safe. You should have told me what you were doing. I could have come. I could have helped, watched your back. I wouldn't want you anywhere near Maelstrom Emoto. He denied, instantly patting me on the head. It felt different. The hand on my head. I sighed. June, you idiot. I'm glad you're home, I said instead, tugging him towards the couch. You aren't disappearing again, are you? No. Our response against Maelstrom is over, he said, but I could tell instantly he wasn't happy about it. That whatever burning hatred had grown in his chest over the loss of his tomb, it wasn't satiated yet. There will be more. There always is, and I am sure when Maelstrom does something stupid again, the Tiger Claws will respond, or maybe they will attack first next time. Just don't go off on your own. Maelstrom are scary despite everything. June just gave me a shrug as he sat up, patted me on the head, and then headed towards the bathroom. A shower started not long after. I'm gonna have to do something. So June is back? Yeah. All chromed up too. I think he wants to go after more Maelstrom though. I'm worried he will try to head off alone. I told Hiromi the next day. She finally appeared again that morning, riding up onto the curb while I was doing my morning jog as if she hadn't disappeared for days. I had slipped onto the back of her Kusanagi and given her a tight hug as I explained everything that was happening. Well, you just have to keep an eye on him, yeah? June is reliable. I don't know. He is really angry. I can tell. Something about the way he is acting makes me think he is not doing well. I tell her as she just sort of drives around the block. Even driving slowly and gently for Hiromi. Damn. She muttered, eventually sighing. What are you gonna do? Dunno. Become reliable myself maybe? Maybe if I get good enough June will actually rely on me. I just don't want him to bite off more than he can chew and die in some Strom hangout without ever knowing. Yeah. She muttered. Sorry. She eventually said. For what? You were dealing with some issues, but I vanished like a gonk. Sorry. It's fine. I tell her, hugging her tight for a second. It's just your thing. My thing? Yeah, you get out of touch for a while every week. It's something I'm used to. It's school. She tells me finally. Quietly, like admitting something shameful. I go to Arasaka Academy. My parents cut me completely off from my com if I don't go, and they keep it cut until I go at least a little. I end up going for a few days so I can ditch the rest. Oh. That's cool. Super hard, but a good education. That's basically all I know about it. I say, I'm proud of you, Hiromi. Going to a school and stuff. Stupid. I don't. I hate it. It's corpo bullshit stuff. Not even worth the time. She growled. PFFT. Nah. See, education is important. Just use them for the education, and when all is said and done, bail if you want. But it's a prime skill to have. I don't go to school. I know. I wish I didn't have to. She grumbled. It's okay. It just means we have to do stuff while you aren't at school. Just don't tell anyone. Everyone else thinks I disappear while doing odd jobs or something. I chuckled a little at her hiding her schooling from the other street kids. Sure. Your secret is safe with me. I told her, chuckling as she nodded, and then she hit the gas. Come on, I want to see June's new Chrome. She called out as she revved the engine and drove way too fast back to the apartment. Slow down. Dash. With June's return, I was a little distracted for the rest of the day, ending up sleeping the night away not long after he went to bed. He was being very quiet about anything that had happened, was going to happen, or what plans he had. It was very annoying. I had a feeling that the tiger claws hadn't chipped him just for looks. They probably intended on turning him into an enforcer now. Which made my stomach turn because I didn't want June to end up dead. So in the morning, to get away from the anxiety of worrying about my brother going into dangerous situations, I settled in to do some more net running training. There wasn't any point in playing with Breach as I was limited by intelligence, but quick hacks were another skill entirely. And I actually did have a program for one thanks to Yoko. So I loaded it up into the net deck, and tried to use ping on my radio. It didn't go well. I ended up having to pull my mother's Netrunner guide out and listen to the section about quick hacks before I figured it out and got the program to ping the radio. Quick hacks experience gained. Skill not unlocked, no XP gained. Quick hacks unlocked. I grinned, that was another skill to work with. I relaxed back onto the couch feeling pretty good. With June back at home and not out of touch, I was starting to feel less anxious, more like I had before. So instead of freaking out or spending the day spiraling, I continued to try and ping everything around me with a quick hack. TV. Vending machine. I could even ping lights since many of them had wireless connections. Grinning as I kept doing it until I got a little alert. 100 quick hacks XP gained. I even got an intelligence alert as well. 100 intelligence XP gained. When June came out of his room looking tired, he noticed me sitting on the couch and basically just pinging the TV over and over. I don't want to know. He eventually decided, moving past me to the fridge to grab something to drink, and then to my surprise he grabbed a paper bag out of the fridge and pulled out an injector. Injecting his leg. You okay? I asked. Sure, I had my own small meds to take, but a cyber deck installation was practically normal compared to losing 2 arms. Just the stuff I have to take while I adjust to the Chrome, he says, throwing the injector away as he walks over and settles in on the couch. I'm on leave for at least a week while I adjust. Doc's orders. He grumbled, and I nodded. At least whoever had chipped him had some basic healthcare concerns. Good. Take it easy and no more Chrome for a while. I ordered, poking his cheek lightly, which he twitched at before waving my hand away. Was thinking of getting my legs done. Be able to move around a bit faster, he argues. No way. You just had a big change. Let yourself get used to it, Jun-ni. Going too fast and not letting yourself adjust is how cyberpsychos happen. Don't want you to end up like that, drooling and muttering to yourself as you murder everyone around you. Nasty shit. I say, staring at him as firmly as I can. I'll think about it. He sidestepped my argument completely and took a swig of whatever he was drinking. Whatever then? I grumbled, realizing he was going to be stubborn about it. You're not telling me anything, Jun-ni, I'm worried. I decided to say instead. He really was being stubborn. Don't be. I'm stronger now than I was. He reached over and patted my head. I'll worry even if you were Adam Smasher, I told him, causing him to snort lightly. You've been using my bike, he said, changing the topic much to my irritation. Yeah. You left and disappeared. I've been filling up the tank. You have. I'll need it back. Sorry, Emoto. It's fine. I'll just be back on the train. I guess it's for the best. I hate that stupid swoop seat anyway. I tell him as I pop the shard out and hand it back over. What's wrong with the seat? He demanded, suddenly sounding a little offended. It's so dumb. The Kusanagi has some really awesome lines, but the tiger claws remove the front guard, and put on the stupid swoop seat. It's awful. I answered honestly, almost ranting about how much I hated the tiger claw alterations to such a beautiful motorcycle. I think it's preem. He grunted, actually pouting a bit at my words. Yeah, but you also have Yakuza tattoos now. So your taste is a little suspect, I teased him, earning a shocked look before scowling at me. They aren't Yakuza tattoos. And they are cool. They show that I have earned the respect of the tiger claws. That tiger on your bicep has a goofy face. I think the artist messed up and didn't want to admit it, I said, lying, but well. Jun still reacted. What? No, it doesn't. He almost shrieked as he checked on his tattoos to see what I was pointing at. Which is when I poked his nose. Made you look. I told him, breaking into giggles, which lasted until his hand wrapped around my ankle. That's cheating. I told him, dead serious, as he suddenly lifted me up, making me shriek as he stood and adjusted me until I was dangling from his arm. Cheating. There are no rules here. He says just as seriously before his other hand reaches down and starts tickling me. NOS, stop. Your bike is still stupid. Your tattoos make you look dumb. I want he surrender. I screamed as he showed no mercy. Only when I was close to pissing myself did he finally stop and let me run to the bathroom. His cruelty will not go unpunished.